So just going over it again, review of economic development. So I admit myself, I have a different view of what economic development was, but according to our references, so economic development is more of the program and the policies rather than the act or the sort of the phenomena that a city or an urban area develops. So when we say economic development in this class, so we're talking about a program or a group of policies that sort of seeks to uplift a local community by providing or retaining jobs or kanang what do you call this? Providing a stable tax base. So another definition from the uh, American Economic Development Council, that's AIDC, is that economic development is the process of creating wealth through mobilization of human, financial capital, physical, and natural resources to make marketable goods and services. So a bit more broad, a bit more kind of closer to what we think economic, or I think what economic development is. So more of a process instead of the actual program. For the International Economic Development Council, that's IEDC, that's how they would define it. So if you do any research on economic development, we have to go into these readings with this kind of thinking in mind. And I think that will help it make more sense. So in the first reading from the International Economic Development Council, or IEDC, they identify several economic development theories, and these are just what they are, theories, so nothing concrete. And then it may help explain some of the sort of phenomena happening in your local community. Like the neoclassical development theory states that if you have a lot of capital flows, you have a lot of economic development. Bayes theory talks about how export firms have higher job multipliers, which to some extent is true. Location theory states that communities where firms locate will obviously have a higher job growth. Causation theory talks about how economic health can be attributed to local events and conditioning. Specifically, you can't replicate development because of like different factors in different communities are attributing or are causing the development. For example, if a local community has more agricultural land than another, maybe agricultural land will provide that economic development. And then when they try to copy that policy to another region, which doesn't have the same sort of local attributes, then the policy doesn't work. And then product life cycle theory suggests that industries locate through different phases of their product life cycle. So for example, a small firm would need more kanang skilled workers, so they would locate in the city center. And then as they become larger and more competent, they learn from their skilled workers. They can like create their own sort of training regimen. They locate further outside of the, for example, central business district. And then new growth theory suggests that currently as in the early 2000s, the driving force behind long-term economic development is kanang knowledge industry. So like creative, I think you can also include the creative industries in this. But the limit with those theories is just they're all sort of kanang, it depends on the location, on the people, the culture. So the second reading, Bingham, suggests a more sort of objective approach. So he suggests that economic development happened through beginning with a political science approach, studying the forces behind economic activity, which is, I think, what our general idea is. Like when we start with a program or a plan or a master plan, for example, you start with what's happening in that area, and then you examine why things are the way they are. And then you create your policy based on those facts. But then Bingham suggests that with an economic approach, there's really, some limitations with just just being concerned with the perceived outputs. Like you have a goal, you need to look at previous or precedent policies that you can really check if those policies impact their local communities and if they were working the way they were supposed to. So Bingham suggests we concentrate on outcomes, which is easier said than done because in the first place, for me anyway, I'm not too familiar with any programs or policies that are currently in place. So it's very difficult for me to determine if we're going in the right direction. Most of my experience comes from a political science approach, I think, which is what most urban designers do. Especially in the Philippines, we don't have that economic data. So this leads us to local government. So based on Bingham, we need to sort of kind of rely or push our local governments to facilitate and promote the creation of jobs with their different policies, so to ensure that it does so in a way that serves the short run and long run interests of the broad populations. Again, easier said than done. Just like wrapping my mind around this is a bit almost even too difficult to comprehend. Like, how do we even begin sort of creating these kinds of policies or development plans? So hopefully the second reading would shed some light on this topic. So I'll do if you're done with it, just so you can review it further, I'll just do a quick skim of the location, and then we'll do a quick discussion. Okay, I'll stop recording this. And let's see, we'll give